Okay, so I'm going to do my best and explain how this VRG system works because it's very confusing, and I spent a lot of time talking to Dr. Clement about just clarifying things and how to make it easier for the next group. So first things first is that every quarter, the volunteers should be submitting something, some kind of activity, or updating something in the VRG. If you do not, it's okay, but that just means that it's assuming that the only activities happening in quarter 2 were the ones which you put for ongoing in quarter 1. So if you have anything additional that you did in quarter 2, you would want to make sure you put that in. And you could also put things in after the quarter finishes from the previous quarter if you forgot to. So it's not that big of a deal. But the main reason why I wanted to clarify this was because they're having us do the teacher observation sheets and also the learners pre-test and post-test. And for those two things, you don't actually put in anything in the VRG right now until the post-test and until the last observation, which is the T2 or T3. So instead, what you're going to want to do is find the documents for both of them and just keep them somewhere safe. And then when it's time to actually put in the information, you look at the difference between the scores, not the actual scores, but if it increased, that counts as a person who achieved. And if it did not increase, decreased, or stayed the same, then it doesn't count. So that's not something we're doing until a lot later on. So right now we're just collecting that information, but we're not actually putting it in the VRG, if that makes sense. So if you want to put an activity, I'm going to walk through how to do that. So for example, today my teachers had a teacher meeting and they were talking about things that they want to do in the grounds to make them better. So I'm going to put that in as an activity in the VRG. So the first thing I do is save the links. So what I was doing before is I didn't save the links and I had to go through my emails to find them again and again, which took a lot of time and was really annoying. So I saved the links and put them in notes. And I'm also using my phone because my hotspot on my computer doesn't work. So I go to the portal first, agree to the terms of use, then I'm going to sign in. And I'm just going to real quickly show you again what I mean in terms of when you're collecting the pre-test, post-tests. So the only data, when we're collecting it, it'll be in a format kind of like this. You put the learners' names, their ages, male or female. The only thing that you actually report, this one is just to see the size of the classes, so it's not the pre-test, post-test. But the only thing you report is this bottom section, which is the total number of males in the age categories and the total number of females in the age categories. Similarly, when I look at the, let me see if I could find it. This one, so this one is for the teacher observations. I'm collecting all this information, the scores for each of these sections, but the only thing I report is the difference between T1 and T2. If there was a difference, that counts over here. That teacher would be counting as, did the teacher demonstrate 3 practices? If they demonstrated the practices and increased their scores, it's a yes, and if they didn't, it's a no. So you calculate the number of those teachers, and you only are going to put in the VRG the information on the bottom line in blue, which is the total reached and total achieved. So all of the other stuff, all of the things on classroom organization, student-centered teaching, all of this stuff does not go in the VRG. The only thing they care about is the total reached and the total achieved. But to find that information, you have to collect other data without actually putting it in the VRG, if that makes sense. So let's go back here, back to, I said I was going to do an activity for a teacher's meeting on the grounds. So I go to, these are all the activities I have. I'm going to go to add. Project associated with activity. So this one is going to be, let's see, proficiency, numeracy, and life skills. So it's not really about teaching. This one's more about the school. So I'm going to put it under goal 2 and 3. Because that's more about the school and community, I think. And this one, oh, actually, no, these ones are about cultural values. Okay, never mind. We're going to go with this and then just see if there's any indicators which are kind of similar. Maybe it would be an other. Okay, sorry, this is just kind of a trial and error here to see how these things work, because I'm not necessarily the expert, but also, as you can see, it's kind of hard to do on a phone, but it's possible. It's just a little bit annoying. So if we do other, here we go, meets a community identified need or priority. So here we're going to say teachers meeting about improving the school grounds. Description, teachers met and discussed ideas for how we should improve the school grounds. So for this meeting, we actually didn't necessarily come up with a list of priorities yet, but we are having a meeting later on in the week to talk about the student-friendly schools workshop, and I think there we're going to get more in-depth about things. So here we're going to just put as ongoing. Start date was today. End date, I'm just going to put it as November 30th. And it was implemented at my site and at the school. Now we save this activity. Okay, so this is where things can get more detailed. So this is all the information I put in so far. After that, under programming tags, this is where you can put in something. I wonder if there's a student-friendly school one. I think there is somewhere. Yep, student-friendly schools. So Peace Corps goals, I'm just going to keep it as goal 1, even though some of it could be for the community. Yeah, I guess I'll do all of them. Okay. So we're not doing volunteers or partners, so activity questions. I don't know if our ideas directly had to do with gender equity. Let's see. Let's just skip these things for now and go back and edit them after the teachers have more finalized things and planned out how we're going to implement them. Yeah. And then for outputs, number of participants reached could be maybe the teachers that were part of the meeting. So my school has 19 teachers. 4 of them are male, which means 15 female. And for the outcomes, we're going to just leave it as that. So now we can say save and close. And that's an activity. That should come up on here somewhere. Yeah, teachers meeting about improving the school grounds. So even if your activity isn't perfect, like this one, I didn't fill out everything, at least it's just adding some information for them to see, just so they're updated with what's going on at your site. The other thing you could do is, let me go to, so you could also add a story about something that's going on at your site. So far, I have this one, which I added last week after I made a behavior chart in the classroom. And I already said submit, which I probably was not supposed to do. But this is the description. It's just a little story about how I felt like the chart was working in terms of encouraging gender equity. And the main thing is I was able to attach a picture which if I click on it, let's see if it can show me the picture. Okay, it's loading. Okay, it's just taking a while to load, and no, I messed it up. I don't know why it's taking so long. Okay, well, basically, it's going to show a picture, and that's going to also be sent if you want your story to be in the Peace Corps press or something. You could add a photo. But this is also considered updating your VRG, by the way, if you just add a story, even if it's not an activity. Yeah, and that's basically all you really need to do. Obviously, like when you reach the second part of the post tests and the T2 and T3 observations, that's when you're actually going to put information in the VRG for the learners and the teachers.